Hello and welcome back to another LifterLMS training. We've got a special guest today. His name is Jonathan Dinwood from WP Tonic. That's over at wp-tonic.com. You've probably seen Jonathan before if you're involved in the LifterLMS Facebook group. I frequently appear on his WordPress Roundtable panel for the WP Tonic podcast, which happens on Fridays, and we share that in the LifterLMS Facebook group, where we talk on issues related to WordPress, course creation, LMS stuff, entrepreneurship, and the web in general. It's a place for lively discussion. I'm grateful for Jonathan for hosting that and organizing that every week. He also has a great podcast that, besides the roundtable, where he does interview shows as part of WP Tonic as well. So you can find out more about that at wp-tonic.com. Jonathan, first, let me just say thank you and welcome. Thank you for coming and welcome to this webinar.
Oh, thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure. And thank you for being such a regular panelist on our Friday roundtable. I thought we had a great discussion last Friday, actually, didn't we?
Yeah, that was a good discussion. We got into lots of philosophical issues, which it was good. So this presentation today, Jonathan and I have a shared passion in serving the online course creation, the LMS community, especially in and around WordPress. And as people who have agencies and have done agency work for a long time and help clients with websites, after you do that for a while, especially in one particular niche, in this case, online courses, membership sites, LMSs, you start seeing trends of what the projects that are failing, what happens, and the projects that are succeeding, what they have in common. And so you start, trend spotting, and you can notice trouble before it happens or as it's happening or after it happens. And, you can see some of these failure statistics forming, right in front of you, unfortunately, when working with clients or just observing people trying to launch courses and that sort of thing. So I'm really excited for the topic and this content. A few things on the format. If you're watching this over on Facebook, great. We'll put a link over there where if you do want to jump over here into the Zoom webinar and participate with the live Q&A that we're going to do, please feel free to do that. We'll also keep an eye on the Facebook comments and answer questions coming in from there. In terms of format for these types of trainings, I'm going to hand it over to Jonathan in a little bit to get started with his presentation about these 4 fatal flaws that happen to course creators. And we're going to get into that. We're going to do Q&A, so please feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat and type your questions in there. There's also a feature in Zoom where you can raise your hand. If you look around, you'll see that raise hand button. If you prefer to talk live, and just have a conversation with your question, we can do that as well. So there's lots of different ways to engage once we get to the end of the presentation and open it up for Q&A. We also are going to be doing a giveaway on this call, actually several. So Jonathan has a online course turnkey service, LifterLMS turnkey service. You can find that if you want to check that out over on his website. It's WP-Tonic. If you scroll down to the bottom of the website, there's a link that's LMS Turnkey Solutions. So you can see it over there if you want to check that out. I think he's giving away one of those. And we also have 3 things from LifterLMS that we're going to be giving away. But we're going to save the giveaway portion of this webinar to the end after the Q&A. So stick around for that. There's some really good value coming in our giveaway at the end. Anything else? I think we've kind of covered it.
Well, I'll be extra generous. Actually, for everybody, there's going to be a discount code where anybody who's in, I don't know how we're going to arrange it, either they email to Chris or to me, and they attended this webinar and they're interested, they will get a discount code for the turnkey solution at half price.
Oh, wow. That's very generous of you.
And one person who emails either you, Chris, or me, we have to arrange it, will get the turnkey solution and 1 year's of support for free.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, I think we can draw that winner live on this call.
Yeah.
At the end, Kathy we have a system for anonymous drawing for people who stick around to the very end. So we can do that. That's great.
Yeah, that's what we do. They will get the offer of the turnkey solution and 1 year support, like I say, for free.
That's a really incredible offer. We'll touch on that more at the end and what the turnkey solution is all about. But Jonathan, go ahead and take it away. What are you seeing? What are these fatal flaws? You've seen projects that are working, projects that aren't working. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say today.
That's great, Chris. Basically, like what Chris says, WP Tonic, we specialize in helping online entrepreneurs in the education course space. And, you know, helping all these people, we see the same 4 main areas that can affect getting a course built, and also after the course is built, its success, and really quite important 4 areas that will affect its success or failure. So let's go into the main 4 areas: how to build a pre-launch audience, a minimum viable course. Speed is really important, and security is boring until your course gets hacked. And I thought I would quickly cover why I feel that these are 4 really important areas that you, the educational entrepreneurs, should focus some of your attention on. I think, you know, we all get that great idea, that itch, you know, we've got expertise in one particular area. And let's be frank about it, the e-course area, the entrepreneur education area has become very hot for the past couple of years. And a lot of people, there's a lot of information out there that building a course is easy. And a lot of people, for understandable reasons, concentrate on building the course before building our audience. And we all can be, we've all done that ourselves. I'm sure Chris has done that. And you learn the hard way that that isn't a great way of going and doing this. Spending a lot of money and time on building a course and then trying to get to a audience to that course. A much better way is to have an audience and then market your course to that audience, right?
Absolutely.
But how do you do it? First of all, before you build that audience, I think finding a niche is all important in a very crowded internet with a lot of people doing a lot of online educational courses. If you really want to be successful, you got to find that niche. And then you got to look at the competition, what your experience can offer that audience, and then try and build an audience in that niche that in the end you're going to build your course on. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Yeah. I think it's all too common. I'm myself guilty as charged is I build the course and then I go looking for an audience, and it's so much harder to do it that way. It's better to pick a niche, you know, and grow from there.
So first of all, obviously, so in the end, this building of this audience, you are going to market a superb course to, or courses to. But first of all, a bit of pre-planning is going to really help you in this being successful for you, because it is a lot of work building quality courses. So the more you can identify a niche and do some of the things I'm going to suggest that will help you build an audience in that niche, the more success you can be guaranteed connected with your course. After you found your niche, I've been podcasting for over 3 years now. With WP Tonic, I think we're getting close to episode 310. And as a guerrilla marketing tool, that doesn't have to be that expensive. I think podcasting is a superb way of building an audience. But podcasting is also getting very competitive because the barriers to enter are there, but it's more resources and time than a financial restraint. But it's very linked to your niche. If you really want to be successful in podcasting, find that niche audience and then provide value to that niche audience. And then you will be able to build an audience and get an audience that is really highly marketable when you do your course. Really, it's really targeted to that specific audience. And I will, in the notes, I will develop some notes and have them available on the WP Tonic. I will provide some resources to those that attend the webinar about some online training that I recommend and some of the equipment that you do need to do a reasonable podcast. But the beauty of it isn't that expensive compared to Facebook advertisement or any kind of paid advertisement or the production of content that can attract people to your website. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, that's great. I'm a huge fan of creating some free content to start building an audience. We are getting a question that I think is in the chat that I think is worth handling while we're here so we're in context. It's kind of the chicken or the egg problem. Well, with a podcast, when you start a podcast without an audience, you still don't have an audience. So how would you respond to that? Like, how do you use podcasting to build an audience?
You go on other people's podcasts.
Yeah, that's a big one. You go on other people's
that's how you build. That's how you build audience, and that's why you need a niche, because you need a niche that's large enough that it can be a part of a large area, but you just need a different niche and a different focus on it. And then there's a number of businesses that help you get on other people's podcasts. You do have to pay for those services, or you can just do outreach and develop a nice looking PDF with a nice photograph of yourself with a write-up of what you want to talk about and what your experience is and why should people listen to you, and just send it off to established podcasts, because most of them, as you know, Chris, getting good guests for your podcast is a bit of a time resource issue, isn't it? And having people you always welcome people approaching you if they do it in the right way. Would you agree with that, Chris?
100%. And we're getting another question from the audience about it seems like podcasts want guests that bring their own audience with them. I would tend to disagree with that. If somebody, I'm less concerned about a guest bringing their own audience. It would be nice, but what I'm more concerned about is the content is that person is going to present is going to be of value to my niche audience. That's what it's all about. It's not tit for tat. It's more like I'm happy to do podcast episodes with great people who can serve my niche. What do you think, Jonathan? Would you?
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. That's my main focus. Obviously, you have a balance. You try and get people that have got large audiences to your podcast, but you don't invite them just because they've got a large audience. They have to be able to add value to your target audience of your podcast. So you mix it up. You invite people that might have large audience, but you also allow people that don't have a large audience because of their expertise in a specific area that would help your target audience, don't you, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not just a popularity contest. I mean, I love introducing people that might be famous through the podcast, at least in my niche, or somebody that the audience has never heard of that I know is going to have great content. I'm happy to do both.
Right. Shall we go on to the next?
Yeah.
YouTube. YouTube, one of my panelists that regularly comes on the Friday show, like Chris, is Adam from WP Crafter, who 2 years ago started with no audience and now has audience of over 60,000 plus subscribers to his YouTube channel. He's had to put a lot of work into doing that, and his lessons, he's in the educational space. I think you would agree with that, Chris. Most of his videos are either reviews of products or they're training videos where he gives different insights on how to use very popular WordPress based products and plugins. But like I say, he started with no audience, and I'm not saying this is easy outright, and I'm not saying that you can get over 60,000 subscribers. But what I am saying, if you're in a niche and it doesn't have to be expensive, the costs are very similar to podcasting. It's more of a time and commitment issue, that if you have a targeted niche area, you can build a following which then you can market to when you build your course out. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what Adam from WP Crafter does. He gets people find out about him on YouTube, then they go to his website. He has courses powered by LifterLMS on his website that are inside of a membership. And he has, different things, different ways people can get access to his courses. But the YouTube audience, the free videos that he gives out are, extremely popular. And he's done a good job, I think, in picking his niche, which is, non-techie website builders in the WordPress community or aspiring website builders.
Obviously, you've got to have a YouTube strategy, and but I think a lot of people put some of their lessons on YouTube. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about building an audience before you build that first course, and building a following and a name for yourself around the specific topic that in the end you're going to build your course. And I think we're looking at podcasting or the YouTube. We're looking between 9 to 12 months out before you build maybe that course, because I think you've got to have a realistic strategy about how long it's going to take to build that audience. What do you think of that, Chris?
Yeah, there's no shortcuts. I mean, if you have like some epically popular viral video, maybe, but that's not what happens to most people. It's the long game. When you launch a podcast to that nobody knows about you, you're not going to get a lot of listens at first, and that's okay. Same with your YouTube channel. But if you've done a good job selecting your niche and really targeting it, even if it's small, like your view count is small, you're attracting the right kind of people. So
it's very similar to email marketing. You learn the hard way that having a 4, 5, 10,000 email list that's totally unfocused has some value, but having a 1 to 2,000 list that's really truly focused to your customer, your target audience in real financial terms is worth a lot more than that 10,000 email audience. Don't you, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would rather have like an email list of like 200 people that are exactly my people than like 20,000 that are just kind of generally related. And I just want to add too that Kurt is saying in the chat that YouTube has been a good way to build an audience, but it's a medium long-term proposition. And he's just echoing what you're saying, Jonathan, that it's the long game. Podcasting and YouTube is not the short game. It's the long game. I don't know how you say that in cricket or football language.
I don't know either, Chris. But there you go. the truth is, folks, and certainly don't think paid advertisement is a solution either. I think I see paid advertisement on either using AdWords or Facebook advertising as gasoline on a fire that's already been on fire. It cannot start a fire. It can accelerate growth. It can accelerate the take up of your course. But if you don't do any of this pre-building of audience, you don't have a pre-recognized brand or voice in your target niche, you're going to find it tough, aren't you, Chris?
Absolutely.
On to the next one. Instagram. And obviously Instagram is part of Facebook, but its growth has been quite amazing. And depending, you got to go where your audience is. So you need to investigate if your target niche audience is on Instagram. But a lot of people forget about the power of Facebook and Instagram. And now Instagram have also introduced Instagram TV, which is a very new app and a new part of the Instagram family. But over the next 6 to 12 months, I can only see Instagram TV becoming a major force in social media. So maybe it's something that you should look at now. And like the two previous guerrilla mythologies or platforms that I've pointed out to the people that join us on the webinar, it doesn't have to cost an enormous amount of money. This is more of a time resource paragram rather than it having to cost you a lot of money. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, it does cost some commitment to make videos or do photos on Instagram or record podcast episodes, but it's not necessarily capital intensive.
No. Right. The other area is that when people have built that audience, they have this fixation that they're going to have to build a course that has all the bells and whistles, that has to have everything right, that has to have 20 lessons, full videos with lesson plans, quizzes, you name it, it's got to be part of the course. But they have not got any feedback from their target niche audience about the course. So they're working in a vacuum. They might have built an audience because they've listened to this webinar and they have built an audience, but it doesn't mean your first course is actually going to really touch that target niche audience in the way that you feel. It's a bit like somebody, and I have quite a bit of experience in Facebook paid advertisement, running campaigns in a specific industry. So it's easier for me. But I've got to tell you, even though I've been running Facebook campaigns in a specific industry for the past 2.5 years, I still get a lot of campaigns that don't work right because there's too many variables. It's the same with a course. You might have enormous experience in that course and you might know your target audience and build up a target following. It doesn't mean your first course is going to be successful. So you should look at a minimum viable course. It comes from the startup communities, which they talk about a minimum viable product. And I've just turned it and twisted it a little bit, a minimum viable course. That's where you want to begin, is a small course really targeted at a specific problem that your target audience has, and then get it done and start getting feedback. What do you reckon, Chris?
Yeah, it's such a it's such a place, a fatal flaw that I see over and over again, where people try to build this giant course that either never launches or launches only to find out that if they had launched it earlier in a smaller, streamlined version and started listening to the feedback they were getting from their students, they might have changed it up or, focused a little different in terms of the curriculum. So, and I would also say that another way to think about this is, what's the minimum things you can do in your course to get people the result promised in the marketing? Because you might, if it's like a course that helps people get leads for their business, that's great. You can get them leads. It doesn't have to be like the sports car of getting leads. It could start simple and have a proven strategy that to help a certain kind of business owner start getting more leads and stay in business. And then over time, you can just keep adding gasoline on the fire, make it better and better and better, add more strategies, add more tools. But you don't have to start with everything.
And it can be at a price that won't be such a barrier for uptake. We all want to build that course, that range of courses, and then get into the $2,000 plus range. But we got to be realistic here when we're new to the market, that a minimum viable course at a lower price will have less resistance to sign up. And it has other benefits, which I'm going to explain in a few moments. I took this from Eric Rice. He was the founder of this methodology of a minimum viable product in the startup community. And he actually wrote, I've forgotten the title of the book. You probably know it, Chris.
It's The Lean Startup.
Pardon?
The Lean Startup.
The Lean Startup. I knew Chris would know the book.
Here.
Yes, it's an excellent book, isn't it?
Yes, very good. I've read it. I'm reading it again right now, actually.
I have attempted to get him on my own podcast with failure, but I still keep trying. But he started this whole idea and this whole methodology. So if you, I'm sure you can buy the paperback on Amazon, and I think a lot of the things in that book can apply to building a course, can't it, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about a minimum viable product. A course, make no mistake about it, is a type of product.
Right. I've just touched that in my previous remark. The beauty of a minimum viable course is then you get feedback from your target audience on that first course is really, really important. And it's something that isn't really talked about enough in a lot of other podcasts about courses, that getting a feedback loop when you're developing your courses is really important. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. Feedback and engagement. And we did another training recently where we talked about the subject of co-creation. When you make your course in combination with the feedback that's coming in, and you have that feedback loop open, it's only natural that it's going to fit more and be more effective.
And it applies to LifterLMS. You can't listen to every additional functionality request that you and your team gets, but having feedback and having a discussion with your target audience is crucial to the success of LifterLMS, isn't it not, Chris?
Absolutely. And just like we started this presentation here, we were talking about how Jonathan and I have been in this industry for a while. And based on the feedback we see these trends emerging that of like, there's in this training, we're touching on 4 big problems. So every feedback, when you start seeing the same thing over and over, now you've got a trend.
Right. The other beauty is your minimum viable course, if you decide to. I'm not suggesting that you should do this. I'm just saying that you should be aware that at some stage when you build your other courses, this could be offered as a free course, as a strong lead magnet on your main sales funnel. It can become a way of really building up your email list and then marketing to those people through automated email drip campaigns to get them further into into buying other courses at a slightly higher price and into your higher price courses. What do you think about that, Chris?
That's fantastic. And I'm going to throw a bonus tip in there, which is you can leverage other people's audiences in this way. A lot of times course creators or program creators, product creators, they're looking to add some bonuses to, add to what they're offering and make it even more valuable and appealing. So you can work out a relationship with somebody where you throw in your free course that they can use as a bonus on whatever they're selling. So now you're getting exposure to someone else's audience with this course. So this thing can really have legs.
So to recap, build your audience. Don't build the course first and then try and build. We can, but it'll be much easier, and you learn. And also, it's a process. Building an audience will inform you probably on their pains and wants, and that gives you a real roadmap about what your minimum viable course, your first one, should be about, rather than just guessing. Because guessing, you might be lucky, or you might be totally off, and you've wasted a lot of time on a course that really you thought people were interested in, but your target audience isn't interested in. So building that audience, getting feedback, and then building a minimum viable course are two things that I think a lot of people do wrong, and they'll be really helping themselves if they did it in the way I'm suggesting. The other thing is, a lot of people, when they're building a course, they forget that a course that takes forever to load up or is very slow and clunky to use isn't a really ideal experience, especially when people are spending money to join that course. And you get a lot of people. We all want to save money, and we all, as human beings, we're all looking for value for money. But there are certain things that when you're running a course, and you don't, and this doesn't apply to somebody that's getting hundreds of people logging in. The realities of what I'm going to discuss in this part of the presentation can apply when you've only got 20 sign-ups or 10 sign-ups. The reality, a course using LifterLMS or any WordPress plugin setup, I would recommend LifterLMS, is that you've actually built an online application platform. And the resources it needs are going to be a lot more different to a small website that doesn't get a lot of traffic. The first thing is hosting. A shared hosting account at $3 a month will, and I'm sure. Whenever you discuss hosting, people say, yeah, it's fine. I'm basing this on, I run a company that offers support. And the number one factor that really gives a really bad experience, not only to the owner, but those that are signing up the course, is cheap hosting and shared hosting that cannot hack it. The only problem is shared hosting. It's become a much more fractured term because some of the solutions on the market are actually shared hosting, but it's much better shared hosting, and it's specifically designed for WordPress and also managing the unique requirements that a membership learning management application requires. And I don't think you should be looking at hosting at $3 or $10. You really got to be looking. Looking at the $20 to $30. There are some hosting providers for the first year offer you a special deal. Some of the ones that I personally would look at on the cheaper side of this is SiteGround. They do offer a very attractive offer for the first year. That's their Pacific WordPress hosting, and I would be looking at their top WordPress hosting product. And for the first year, you get that for around $10 a month for what they're offering at that initial offer price. It's very good value. I then would look at Kinsta as well. The only problem with Kinsta with their basic plan is that you can only have one domain name. And the setup that we recommend is that you have a marketing site, and then your application is on a separate website, which is a subdomain, because then you can avoid or decrease dramatically plugin conflict, because on your subdomain, you have a lot fewer plugins that you require on your marketing site, and the less plugins, the less plugin conflict problems you might encounter. Unfortunately, Kinsta, on their cheaper plan, which is $30, you can only have one domain, but it's fantastic hosting. And then you got WP Engine, a direct competitor to Kinsta, a little bit more expensive than Kinsta. Off my head, I can't remember. On the basic WP Engine plan, you can run a main marketing site and a subdomain. I can't remember that myself. But that's the type. They're free hosting providers that, hand on heart, I could recommend somebody that really wants to build a membership site, and they would all three have, in my experience, very good support. There are some other players that people will probably comment about and ask, but I found that there's some of the other players, their support goes up and down, and so does the hosting quality go up and down a bit. And I do think you do need a hosting provider that offers good technical support and actually knows what they're talking about. What do you think about that, Chris?
I think hosting is a critical piece of the stack. And one of the trends I see people having to deal with is they wish they had gotten good hosting sooner. I know when you're validating and you're building your MVC, you want to keep it as cheap as possible, but it's not always easy to like change your web hosting, and having that quality speed is super important, especially if you have an international audience, because a lot of course creators are often sitting at home or with like a good internet connection on their laptop, whereas people consuming the course maybe on their smartphone, on the mobile network, the website may not perform nearly as well as you think it does for the people actually taking the course. So having quality hosting with good speed is important. And I just want to echo what you said. I have heard people in the LifterLMS community, especially recently, talking about being satisfied with Kinsta. We have a lot of WP Engine fans, and I do hear SiteGround's praises a lot. It's like politics. Hosting, people can get really heated and animate about it, but those are three quality recommendations that I could concur with you, Jonathan.
The only other one I would throw in the mix, but based on my experience, they're also reasonable, but I would put them at below the three I've mentioned, is InMotion. I do think they're reasonable as well, but I would put them below the three that we have talked about. But as a four, they're the four, in my experience, that you can get good experience. And I do think you've got to be realistic about, that there are some hosting providers, which I will not mention, that I cringe when clients come to us and they're saying they're hosted with them. And it just will not hack it. You know, it's going to be a terrible experience for your users, and it's going to be a frustrating, terrible experience for you as well. And you should be concentrating on your course, not dealing with bad hosting. Right?
Absolutely. Hey, Jonathan, do you mind if we take a question now, or do you want to wait to the end?
Yeah, we can take the question now.
Patricia's got her hand up, and if it has to do with hosting, I think it'd be good to talk about it now. Let's see what Patricia has to say. All right, Patricia, how are you doing?
Hi. These are all great things. My question was, when it comes to the subdomain that you had talked about, because I just finished completing my course, but I'm having some speed issues on my website, significant speed issues. And I'm not techie, so I don't know, I've gone on, it has told me what to do, combine JavaScripts and into one file and things like that. I don't know how to do all that. Is it possible to add a subdomain and then just clone the course and move it to the subdomain? Is that a possibility for those that have already created?
Did you make the great decision to use LifterLMS?
Yes, I did.
Oh, yes, you made a great decision there. The beauty of LifterLMS is they've got a JSON export functionality. So basically, you can really very easily export a JSON file, and then you can import it into that subdomain with a clean version of LifterLMS, and then import that JSON file, and you're up and running.
It's a couple of clicks. So we got you.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's no problem at all. Just did that for a couple of clients last week, actually. It's a great feature, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you using that. Patricia, I'm going to move you back down. Feel free to ask more questions down the line.
Thank you very much.
Another thing that will help with speed, obviously, we've touched upon, compressing JavaScript files and all the other things that you can do. But with a general purpose theme, that's the other reason why we like setting up on a subdomain, is that we're a great fan of Astra, and because Astra works really well with LifterLMS, and we just use the free Astra theme because it's really lightweight. It has functionality. It has a number of free elements that you can add, which have been specifically designed for LifterLMS. And you can customize the colors really quick. And it's lightweight, and you remove a lot on a commercial theme where you might have got from something like Theme Forest. To try and sort out all the JavaScript calls and everything in that commercial theme is going to be difficult and costly. Another thing that can really help is having a CDN. And that's a network, like if your website is hosted in America and you had somebody in Australia coming to your course, yes, it's at the speed of light, but those calls, especially when you're dealing with a membership learning management system, have to go back and forth, and these microseconds add up. What a content management system does is it takes a copy of your website, and then it has a server network in Australia. So if that person in Australia it doesn't have to go to America, it goes to that copy in Australia. So it just quickens the whole thing. I'm a great believer. A lot of people use Cloudflare for this, and I have no real problem with them. They're a very quality company, but I believe that you get what you pay for, and there's a reason why the basic product of Cloudflare is free. At WP Tonic, we use Key CDN, and we've found their technical support and their interface to be superb. And they have a good working relationship with Kinster as well. But it's we have a developer's account, and we put all our clients into that, and we set up Key CDN through that. But I've also added a couple of other CDN providers, Amazon and Mac CDN. The Amazon is a bit techie. But you might be a developer type, so you might want to go down there. What do you reckon, Chris?
I'm not a super techie person myself, which may surprise some people, but I do find it very important to work with web hosts that have, CDN situation set up, because it's just a part of that speed. It's not something that if you're not quite understanding what it is, that's okay. Just know that if you're going to get into high traffic international delivery of a complex site, you're going to want CDN.
Yeah, and for the money it costs, it really boosts it at minimum technical and ongoing cost. That's why I think it's quite important to look at that. Another area that a lot of people, when they're building a membership site and a learning management site, they forget about image compression, and it's a factor that really does slow down your site. Especially if it's all in one, you haven't set up this subdomain, which it's a recommended thing, but if you have built it out on one domain, it can make a big difference. We've found, especially we use Short Pixel, that there's lossless and looseless. There's different ways of compressing images. One is damaging is not the right word, but there's one that compresses the images and you can't get it back. Funny enough, it's Short Pixel that uses that, but they get around some of the problems because they keep a copy of your original image. And the reason why they use this destructive compression technology is that it actually compresses images a lot more than the non-damaging way that other image compression services use. So you get the best of both worlds. You still have a copy of the original if you want to get back to the original, but you have a lot of the images we've found with a lot of images using Short Pixel, it compresses it by over 50%, Chris. And that makes a really big difference to how sites load, Chris, because a lot of sites have a lot of images, don't they?
Yeah, and especially a course site, I notice it a lot when if you have your course catalog and your courses have a featured image and you've got a bunch of those loading on a page, or you're trying to load up a single course page and it's very slow to load. It's almost always, my first guess is somebody just put a giant image in there that's like 3,000 pixels or megabytes or whatever, just like way too big, like 2 megabytes or something. It should be like what do they call it? Somewhere like around 60 to 100 kilobytes or something like that, much smaller.
Yeah. And this really helps, but I'm not saying to you got what you should really do is you should not, and the biggest it probably doesn't apply so much with this specific area, but one of the biggest culprits is that we've all got now smartphones, and we take images on our smartphone and then we directly upload them to the website. And those images on an iPhone, they can be 2,000 by 3,000 pixels.
Yeah.
And you crop the image to the size that you want, but it's actually uploading the original image, which is 3,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels. that will turn your site, your page time into treacle.
Yeah.
So actually being aware and doing some cropping. There are some free online services you can upload, which are image editors, and you can edit. And they're on the Mac and PC. There's some free editors, so you should attempt to crop. But even doing that, using something like Short Pixel will also make a big difference, right?
That's fantastic.
I'm going through.
I just want to add one thing. Jorge's asking if we're going to provide a recording. Yes, we are going to email a recording to the people that registered, a replay. But if you want to be in the drawing for the giveaways, we're going to be doing that at the end of the call. So that's going to be available to live attendees. But yes, there will be a replay. And thank you for the compliment that we're providing good info so far. So thanks, Jorge.
I've dealt with some things that can help with speed, because speed, especially the other factor, especially on the marketing site, probably if you've got a subdomain with the course, it won't apply. But then you have a lot of people that, for various reasons, they combine both together. Is there a lot of people are going to view, especially the marketing side, they're going to view it on a mobile device, and speed then is the number one reason why people viewing your site, looking at the possibility of joining your membership course, are going to bail out because they have a very poor experience on a mobile device.
I just want to add that, like, for me personally, if I'm on Twitter and somebody's talking about their course or whatever, and I click the link on my phone and I go there, if it doesn't load in a second or two, I'm out of there, so.
Funny enough, on the phone, I think it's this reaction that Chris has just said is exacerbated when it's on a phone.
Yeah.
I think actually people are a little bit, not, I won't say patient, but it's more tolerant on a slightly laggard website on a desktop or a laptop. But when they're moving around and they're looking at things on their mobile device, and if you're with cheap shared hosting, your marketing or your combined site will be treacle, will it not, Chris?
That's right.
I call it digital treacle.
Especially if you've got the big images in there.
Exactly. Now, security is like insurance. Let's face it, folks, it's boring.
Until you have a problem.
Clients always say to me, it's only a small course, hardly anybody knows about it. I'm not going to have anybody hack it. If you've got a specific individual attempt that knows what they're doing, trying to hack your site, you really, really, really have a big problem, right? You don't have individuals hacking your sites. You have automatic scripts trying to hack your site.
Bots.
They are trying. And why do they try? And various building spammy links to sites that would normally not get any links. Bitcoin and other digital wallet, they're using your computer, your hosting resources. The many ways why hackers want to get into your site and use your server resources are unlimited. It's quite amazing the new ways they find to make money by hijacking other people's websites. It's quite breathtaking, isn't it, Chris?
It is. Yeah.
You got to buy it in a rather dark way. Let's face it, there's a whole industry reliant on fraudulent and dicey ways of making money online and using other people's websites to do it. The other factor is avoidance of getting your site hacked. Is in resources, time, money, pain. It's so much easier to avoid getting a site hacked than having to deal with the painful experience of dealing with a hacked site. And dealing with a hacked site, that you are not aware of being hacked for months. And this is another area where cheap hosting comes in. And also, first of all, you should never rely on your hosting company's backups, even if you're dealing with Kinsta, SiteGround, or the ones that we've mentioned in this webinar. They do their best. Also on the cheap, but you can't rely on their. It's been known for hosting companies to be attacked, and very occasionally to be successfully attacked, and for them to lose all the backups. Another factor, especially with SiteGround, it doesn't apply to their top plan, which is their most expensive, but on the medium to lower WordPress plans with SiteGround and with the majority of cheap hosting, they only keep 30 days of backups. And most of the sites have been hacked. You might be months before you realize that your site has been hacked. So all your backups in your hosting company will also be hacked. So having backups and having multiple backups that are not that are stored on your hosting server, they need to be stored away from the hosting provider, is really important when it comes to security, because if your site does get hacked and you've got an up-to-date backup that's not been hacked, it can be restored, and you can the other factors that affect security, it's always talked about, but weak usernames and passwords are detrimental to stopping hacking. Like I say, they're using automatic scripts, and having a weak password, it might only take them an hour to crack your username and password. A strong username and password, it will take them months, years to crack. They're just going to move on to another target. Now, you know, a lot of people have a lot of usernames and passwords, so they tend to keep it in an Excel file or in a text document. I would suggest that if you're on a Mac, you use something called 1Password. And if you're on PC, use a service called LastPass. And these two services generate passwords, and they keep them available in your browser really easily. And they stop the temptation of using the same password on multiple sites or multiple services. What do you reckon, Chris?
I've got 1Password going for years, and yeah, and I use strong passwords. And in Lifter, there's a feature where you can enforce strong passwords if you want to force your students to use a strong password if you want, which, you know, I know there's friction there, but it's kind of like a public service to help people use strong passwords. There's even a medium setting if you want to kind of meet in the middle. So
yeah, Chris has just brought up something that I forgot. That's another factor. Yes, they will be subscribers in the WordPress tables, but there are ways. When you're running a membership site, you've got to really make sure that people are using strong passwords as well. Another factor that's a killer is outdated WordPress plugins and themes. You really got to get on top of this and make sure that every week, if possible, that you update everything. And this is another factor where you really need a staging site, because it's more rarer than it was a couple of years ago. But you can still get a plugin that causes what is called in the industry the white screen of death. It always happens when you least expect it with the plugin that you've never had any trouble with, and then suddenly it happens. Or a plugin turns off. There's some with the update of a specific plugin, it causes plugin conflict with another plugin, and some key functionality no longer works, which you don't notice. So updating to a staging site and then checking over your site quickly, making sure the key function, especially with a membership learning management system, making sure that people can still sign up, existing users can log in, that most of the course is still available. Doing those basic checks is really important. And I've just mentioned site backup is really important when it comes to security. And also, you have a lot of people, we have a lot of people that approach us to say, I've got all these backups. And then we ask them, have you ever done a live retrieval? Have you got a staging site, and have you tested one of those backups to see if you can actually use it to retrieve? And they haven't. And that really means, what that really means is they've got no backup at all, because a backup that has never been tested in anger is no backup at all. So you want to keep that in mind as well. So what do you think, Chris? What do you think of some of the things I've discussed there?
Yeah, I think you're right. Security is not that sexy, but once you deal with it or have a problem, you're going to wish you had spent more time setting up your systems and your team or your processes to involve it. And even, you're very correct, Jonathan, what you were saying, like with LifterLMS or whatever you're using for your membership or LMS system, on WordPress, you have built a web application. It's not just a website with pages and content on it. It's a full-on web application with users. And if that is generating, significant money for you, whether it's, $100,000 a year, more, $10,000 a year, $1,000 a month, $500 a month, whatever it is, wherever you're at whatever stage you're at, it's an important asset. And any important asset that you have in the offline world has insurance and, security protocols. You pay taxes to have, police and, you put locks on your doors and, you invest in security around your assets. So I think I really appreciate you bringing all that up. And it's something that, if you really want to take your project seriously, having a solid security system in place is very important.
Yeah, and Simon pointed out that 1Password now works on Windows. The only thing is, I wouldn't say it's an expensive product for what it does, but it's not cheap either. LastPass, I think you can get the desktop for free, and it's browser based, so it will also work on it will work on Mac and PC. I think you have to pay with LastPass if you want the app that will work on a tablet or on Android or iPhone. I might be wrong there, but I've been with 1Password. I'm a Mac person, and I've been using it for donkey's years. So that's why I was a little bit out of date there, maybe. The other factor is with better hosting is you normally you have access to the latest version of PHP, and I don't mean the latest, but around 7.
The latest stable.
That's stable. With cheap hosting, you find that you're on some server. It has thousands of sites on it, and they're using legacy version of PHP. It will make LifterLMS. It will generate more problems. It will generate more frustration with you. You will have a slower experience. LifterLMS is code-based. It's designed to work with a modern version of PHP. It will work with older versions. You also will be helping Chris and his team, because you won't be sending so many request tickets.
Yeah. You also help the Facebook community. I watch sometimes from the sidelines where people are having an issue with their site and they think it's LifterLMS, and then someone starts talking and they figure out what version of PHP they're on. And then somebody else mentions you should call your web host and see if you can upgrade PHP. And then they upgrade to 7.0, which is the current standard version, if they're on hosting that will let them do that. and the problems go away. It's like one of those first lines of,
I could have put this in because it covers speed and security. It will make your site a lot more quicker, folks, and also using a legacy version. Some people wouldn't agree with me here, but I think in security terms, working with the most stable, latest version of PHP also helps security as well. Some people would slightly disagree with me, but I'm just giving you my opinions, folks. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just basing it on my experience and what I honestly feel. Now, just to finish off, I've forgotten, hopefully Chris will help me out because I did email it to him and Kathy, the coupon code that I developed.
Hopefully Kathy can find that while we're talking here.
Because basically we offer it's probably easiest to go to the WP Tonic website, wouldn't it? And
folks, that's wp-tonic.com.
Yeah, let me scroll down. I've got so many. Oh God, I'm scrolling down. Should have had this pre-done, but there we go. Let's go scroll down and let's move it. Oops. Oh God. I apologize. Let's go.
It's the battle of the pop-ups. I've got pop-ups. You've got pop-ups.
We love our pop-ups, don't we?
Yeah.
I've got theirs, thank God. And I'm doing this joint promotion with WP Crafter Adam because he's a friend of mine, and he does some fantastic course. And basically, what we've done is set up a turnkey solution that has a lot of developer license included: Astra, Elementor Pro, Lifter. We offer the Stripe PayPal as part of the basic Lifter package that we're providing. We use key CDN, image compression, all the things that we've discussed, and we includes the hosting as well. We're offering a token, a coupon that will halve the costs of these plans. The difference in cost is you get so many development hours. If you want us to do some modification with the initial setup, we include so many hours of development time in our, and like I say, we're offering a coupon code where you get 50% off these set prices, and then basically after that it's $49.99 per month, but that includes quality hosting, and we make sure the plugins, the core WordPress and everything is kept up to date, so your site will not get hacked. And we also do all the backups, so if something does happen, we retrieve the site for you. And like I say, we include quality hosting in that $49.99. And like I say, if Kathy saves me and can provide the coupon code, we can either it'll be in the notes or we can actually mention it. I do apologize. And also one lucky winner, which Chris has said that we're going to announce at the end of this, is going to win our basic turnkey package and 1 year of free support, so they won't have to pay the $49.99. So they get free hosting and support from us for 1 year, Chris.
That is fantastic, and we'll announce that giveaway winner in a minute. Kathy has saved you, by the way.
Well, thank you, Kathy.
Thank
you. What is the coupon code?
I'm putting the coupon code in the chat. It is LMS Turnkey Offer 2018. And in your notes to us, Jonathan, I believe it was 40% off, not 50% off.
Oh, it's 40. I've got, sorry.
So
it's 40%.
But that's very generous of you. So if you're watching this on Facebook and you're not seeing the chat, it's LMS Turnkey Offer 2018, 2018. And that is over at wp-tonic.com. Scroll to the bottom of the website and look for LMS Turnkey Solution. And I just want to say at your price point, Jonathan, that is a lot of bang for the buck. You have a lot of value inside of those offers for the price.
Well, I think it's really good value because you get all the other point I must make is that we don't entrap you. You know, if for some reason you want to move that turnkey WordPress website somewhere else, we charge $199 to move it, to migrate it and set it up as it was somewhere else. It's a one-off payment. And you can, because it's WordPress, you're not entrapped with us. Like I say, if you ever decide that you want to move from our turnkey solution, it's $199, and then we will migrate it and set it up exactly as it was with our turnkey solution.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So you get all the benefits of WordPress, the ability to build of a custom solution, utilizing some of the best WordPress technology out there, like LifterLMS. But you also don't have to deal with the hassle of dealing with updating plugins, dealing with security and all the other things. Because if you're starting out, you want to concentrate. And I think the other real great benefit of our turnkey solution is that you can ask me and my team unlimited questions, and we will answer them through email as quickly as we can. But you do have a resource that we can answer questions and give some quick advice to you. So you got that benefit as well.
That's awesome. And we've got a question. How long is that coupon code good for?
I think it's going to be good for the next couple of months.
Okay. That's very generous of you. Thank you.
Right.
And I just want to add to what you were just saying there, Jonathan, about the best use of your time, you that's watching this presentation. Course creators have to wear many hats. Those of you who have heard me probably talk about this many times, I call it the 5 hats problems. They have to be an expert. They have to be a community builder. They have to be a teacher. They have to be a technologist, and they have to be an entrepreneur. And when you wear all the hats as one person, I've very rarely seen one person pull it off without a team of people to fill in the gaps, or a business partner, or a freelancer, or a solution like this turnkey solution that takes a huge majority of the technology things you're going to need to deal with off your plate, so that you can focus on being a course creator. You can focus on making your course content, engaging with your students, coaching your students if you do coaching, or engaging in your community if you have a private community. Those are the best uses of your time as a course creator, not getting in the muck of the technology. Just because you know how to do it, if you do, doesn't necessarily mean it's the best use of your time. I think that's a really important point. I just wanted to throw out there.
I'd like to point out, with our solution, if you require, we can set up 2 sites on our hosting plan, a main marketing site and a subdomain, or you can go just with one, and then at some stage, if you want to set up a subdomain, you have that flexibility with our turnkey solution. And another thing I would like to point out is that our bundle comes with Astra Pro and Elevate. What that means is you have access to the Astra Pro library of websites, and they've already got one that's aimed at a membership website, and it works really great with Elementor or Beaver Builder. We provide a pro copy of Elementor. It works really great with those page builders, but with the one with Astra Pro, you can select this one website that's been pre-designed. It looks really great, and then you can change it to your heart's extent. And I understand that Astra are building some other specific websites in their pro library that are aimed at membership websites. So I think it's really sweet. What do you reckon, Chris?
That is good. And you said Astra Pro is included in your package?
Yes.
So Astra Pro has, there's the free Astra theme, but then the Astra Pro add-on has even more features for LifterLMS, some more styling options, design options, as well as distraction-free
Yes.
learning and checkout. Some really cool features. It's a great theme to pair with LifterLMS. So again, there's some more value in that turnkey package price. And Jonathan's got his email address up on the screen, jonathan@wp-tonic.com. You've got a Zoom link here, which is a book me, and maybe you can copy and paste that in the chat.
Will do.
What is that? What is that if people just want to discuss with you if the turnkey solution is a good fit?
Well, if they want to discuss anything. I'm a bit like you, Chris. I think you should be I try and be as available as I can. I normally try and have time in the mornings, Pacific Standard Time, to talk to people, and then I blank off my afternoons to actually deal with clients' problems and other stuff. And that's how I deal with all the demands. Mornings, make podcasts, chat with clients, do marketing like this. And then in the afternoons, I make myself less available and I deal with actual work. And that works. Otherwise, I become just too fragmented. And that's how I deal with stuff. So if you want to chat about the turnkey solution, we also, for people that have built their website and that, we do offer membership care plans. Basically, we start at $99.99. That's our standard plan, and you get all the things like key CDN, the compression technology, the backup, our support, and you get 2 hours of development time per month. We normally charge $79.99 an hour, but for our members, they get a discounted rate to $50. And on our standard plan, they get 2 hours per month. They do not roll over, but if you do need more work than the 2 hour development that we supply, you can then buy a block of 5 hours at the discounted hourly rate of $50 an hour.
That's very cool. And that goes back to that, how many hats do you want to wear? Like, can WP Tonic help, take that technology responsibility off your hands and be a partner with you on your project?
Well, I built some courses myself. I've got one course I'm finishing off now, and I'm using LifterLMS. And building a course, just do the course is more than enough.
Yeah, people underestimate like the time it takes to build a course and make the content and organize the course and get it ready for launch and test the course, and it's a lot.
It's a lot. So I think we're going to wrap it up now, aren't we? And is Kathy going to find a winner?
We'll do the winner. We'll start drawing. We're going to start with the winner of the of your turnkey solution, which is very generous. And again, Jonathan dropped the link in the chat. If you want to book time with him and discuss the turnkey offer or anything we've talked about here, click that link or copy and paste it, save it for later. But yeah, if we could get a drum roll and stick around, we're going to do this drawing and then 3 more. So we'll do Jonathan's first, then we'll take questions, and then we're going to do 3 more. So let's go ahead. You guys have been with us a while here. Let's go ahead and draw the winner for Jonathan's turnkey offer. And let's see. The winner of Jonathan's turnkey package is John Hipsley. So congratulations, John. And I would say just contact Jonathan through his email address that's on the screen, or use that link there to schedule a call with him to redeem your winnings there. So congratulations, John. And we are going to do 3 more drawings, but I want to make sure we get some questions first. Kurt asks, looks like a security question. You're welcome, John. I see your chat there. Congratulations. So Kurt asks, any recommendations about using a CAPTCHA plugin for the administrator and or subscribers? I can just say in general, I think CAPTCHA it's all right, but it's not the be all end all. But if you
I think
do
on a public facing site, and it does vary. There's some clients that we support and they just get inundated with spam through their contact form,
even with CAPTCHA, or
even with not well, because they haven't got CAPTCHA. I've got other people that don't have CAPTCHA and they don't get inundated with spam. So it really varies from case to case. On my public-facing contact form on the WP Tonic website, I do have CAPTCHA because, that's the other thing with our turnkey. You also get Gravity forms as well,
which is awesome. Another value for the service.
Exactly. And I use Gravity forms, so I put CAPTCHA on your actual LifterLMS. I think no, you don't need that. I would have thought.
Yeah, we've got some pretty high. Large user base Lifter sites, and I've seen a lot of them that are doing good without spam, without CAPTCHA plugins. And Lifter doesn't use the standard WordPress open registration system where hackers or bots are trained to go look for ways to get in. So that's one of the reasons. And the other is many people are using our strong password feature. So absolutely, as a WordPress administrator, or if you're bringing in technical people to help, make sure those people have strong passwords because they can do the most damage. If somebody gets into one of your student accounts, the damage isn't as big. I mean, they might go take the course for the student, but that's not why they're there. It's not as big a deal as it is for the administrator.
The other thing I would suggest is, unless you really, really got to, is I really would to try and avoid, I know it works perfectly. Lifter works perfectly with it, and you got add-on. Is unless you really is to try not to use WooCommerce with your Lifter setup, unless initially, because it does complicate things quite a bit having to support WooCommerce with LifterLMS. And unless there's a real reason why, it's best to go initially with the most simplistic setup you can. Would you agree with that, Chris?
I agree. There is a place for WooCommerce, and Lifter has a WooCommerce add-on to integrate it. And like Cindy, who's here on the call, she has a LifterLMS and WooCommerce setup, but she also has a whole store of products besides courses. So that in that case, WooCommerce makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you can go with the native LifterLMS, straight up native e-commerce that's with Lifter through the Stripe add-ons and PayPal or authorize.net, that's the cleanest, simplest way to do it. And Cindy asks, she said she was struggling to get the recurring payments right with WooCommerce and Lifter. So that's likely something to do with Woo subscriptions. If you're going to do Woo recurring payments with Woo, you need Woo subscriptions, which is a good product. And Lifter does support Woo subscriptions, so it's aware of the status of the subscriptions.
Yeah.
But
how much is that now? I've forgotten. How much is subscription?
Last time I saw it was a couple $100.
Yeah.
So it's not a cheap plugin.
It's not the cheapest add-on, but that's what's probably causing that problem.
Yeah. Cool. Well, does anybody want to raise your hand and talk live? We had somebody come up. Patricia came up a little bit while we were in there. Sounds like Cindy bought the plugin when it had lifetime access for Woo subscriptions. If you got that deal, that's a sweet deal. I wish I had that deal because I
think we had Jacqueline. Is it Jacqueline?
Yeah, we're gonna bring her up. All right. Let's see. Jackin?
Yes, it's Shaqueen.
Shaqueen, how are you doing?
I'm good. I have a question.
I apologize.
Yeah, lay it on.
I am currently using LifterLMS, but I am on the GoDaddy platform and installed it and hate it. Lots of problems. So if I were to go with the WPE tonic, how would that work? Because we are looking at trying to get out of that platform.
We would migrate the site to our turnkey free of charge for you.
So when you're saying export the site, you mean our entire site or just the course piece?
Depends what you want. If we would migrate the whole website to free of charge.
So when you were talking earlier about the different turnkeys, that's for the whole site?
We would probably have to do a special arrangement for you. I would suggest really that would probably be more appropriate if you signed up for one of our standard site care plans, which is $99. We would then suggest that you either look at SiteGround. Funny enough, we've just had a couple of clients last week, and this is exactly what we did. Is that they one of them was with GoDaddy, and I don't want to throw GoDaddy under the car because one of my panelists actually works for GoDaddy, but I would, in all honesty, not suggest them as a hosting provider. So basically, if you signed up for one of ours, and then we would advise you maybe to, if you're prepared to, is look at SiteGround. I would suggest the Go Geek, and then what we would probably then do for you is set up your main website, and then set up LifterLMS on a subdomain. And you probably would then, hopefully, well, based on the experience, you have a much better experience.
Yeah. Okay. So I just reach out to your email, or how do we do that?
You have a contact form, or it's Jonathan@wp-tonic.
Oh, okay. I see that. Okay. Great.
Our turnkey solution is really aimed at somebody that's looking to develop their website in the next couple of weeks. You know, they're not actually built it all out really, and they're looking. They like the flexibility of WordPress, but they also like the idea that they don't have to deal with all these tech issues that we've just discussed through this webinar. Does that make sense, Chris?
It does. It does. So your turnkey solution is more for people getting started than migrating from somewhere else.
Yeah, with the migration, we will help you as much as possible and migrate. And if you go with Kinsta, they normally charge $100, but we do it for you. I think with SiteGround they do it, but they use normally automated scripts to migrate a site. Where we do it, it's one of my developers, and we do it by hand, and then we check it all over. So it's a much superior service that we offer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the questions.
Lovely talking to you.
All right. Anybody else have a question, want to talk live? Just
come on, be brave. Be brave.
And Paul had some good comments about people misunderstanding strong passwords. Yeah, I mean, a strong passwords, it's capital, it's lowercase, it's numbers, it's symbols.
Well, those passwords that one password provide, they're insane, aren't they?
I don't even try to remember them. I mean, I just
write that.
You can't. I just rely on.
If they crack one of those, you can very. It's just got a lovely LastPass. I haven't used it for a while, but it's fine. But I just think one password is a fantastic interface, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. Cool. Well, I think that's it on our questions. Right. If any final questions come up, drop them in as we're closing out here. But Jonathan, I wanted to thank you for coming and sharing your message with us today.
I've really enjoyed it, Chris. It's been a blast, hasn't it?
Yeah. And just to recap the 4 fatal flaws to avoid. Number 1 was to build an audience first, right?
Yeah, I understand because it's really hard work. Building the course is really hard work, but I actually think, I think of the two, I think building up an audience is even more hard work than building the course, isn't it? And that's why people start with the course, don't they?
Yeah, it's the long game, though. I mean, you have to start. If you're going to do the YouTube or the podcast or the Instagram strategy, which are all good strategies.
I think the good news, folks, I think we've jumped the gun a little bit, Chris, is the first thing is find that niche.
Yeah.
Find a niche that's big enough to market to. If there's only 2 people in the world that's interested in what your course is going to be about, you've got a slight problem. The beauty is that, if you've got audience of 100,000, 200,000 on a specific niche area, you can build a very successful business that's based on that, can't you, Chris?
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
size of target audience. If you do some of the things that I discuss about building that audience, I think you can. The good news, folks, is you can be highly successful with this because you don't need a ridiculous and of course, it depends on the kind of resources that your target audience has, and what the pain and frustrations that you're helping solve for that audience, doesn't it, Chris?
Absolutely. And we're going to do our lifter drawings in a second. But before we do, I just want to touch on the 3 other fatal flaws, which Jonathan touched on. One was not doing a MVC, a minimum viable course, not paying attention to speed, and not paying attention to security. Those are, really important issues that can come back to bite you in a big way. So we're going to get into our drawings here. We've got a 9 months of the Universe bundle. And if you already have it, or you have it like a single product or whatever, and you're on this call, we'll figure out a way to make it work for you. And that was a donation from our community from Garrick Pattenden, and the winner of the 9 months, let's see here, the winner of, sorry, not the Universe bundle, but the 9 months of LifterLMS Stripe, which was also donated by Garrick Pattenden, is Tom Gardner. So congratulations, Tom. And then we're going to draw a couple more winners here. The winner of the 9 months of the LifterLMS Universe bundle, which came through from Garrick in our community, is Jorge Castaneda. Congratulations, Jorge. And our final winner, which is a winner of a $99, which you can apply to a single add-on, or if you have an existing license to extend it out into the future, is Paul Simpson. So congratulations, Paul. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And there will be a replay. If you heard something here and you want to go back and be like, okay, what were they talking about security? If you want to go listen to Jonathan present the turnkey offer over at WP Tonic, you're going to get a replay if you registered for this webinar. And also on the LifterLMS website, if you scroll down to the bottom, there is a webinars link. So we do put them up for future, use and value for people to find and discover and learn. So you can just look for that at the bottom of lifterlms.com, where you'll see all the past webinars we've run. Paul is asking where to claim the winner. Email us at team@lifterlms.com. So Tom, Jorge, and Paul, and we will hook you up with your winnings. That's team@lifterlms.com. Tom Gardner is throwing an offer out there to build a video for people. So if you want to engage with that, Tom, I'd encourage you to head over to the LifterLMS Facebook group and put up a post about what you're offering to the LifterLMS community. You can reach Jonathan Dinwood at jonathan@wp-tonic.com. You can book a call with him. I really appreciate and value your willingness to jump on a call with people and like coming out from behind the computer and having a conversation. That's what it's all about these days.
Well, we're a boutique support maintenance company. We're not looking to become WP Curve with GoDaddy. All my clients, they're really family. And some of them have been with us for over 3 years now. So I've been in the maintenance for about 4 years now, and some of them have been with us 3 to 4 years. And I take that as a testimony, a strong testimonial of the quality of service that they've received.
Absolutely. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for taking the time. And thank you for putting together that generous LifterLMS turnkey solution. It is a lot of bang for the buck. When I first saw your pricing table and saw all the stuff that people got for the price, I was like, whoa, that is a good deal. So, and thank you for presenting here today. I really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Kathy, for helping put this on. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Any final words for the people, Jonathan?
Oh, England's going to win the World Cup. We're the trophy Wednesday, victory on Wednesday, and then when we get to the final, we're going to win it, folks. It's coming home to England, folks.
All right. That's Jonathan Dinwood from across the pond via Nevada. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And thank you all for checking out this webinar.